Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. We are sitting in my studio. First time I have Matthew Buckley, the Whiz from Top Gun Options, who you're going to be seeing a lot of. If you haven't read the press release, we did merge our platforms, and we are happy to have a very extensive idea generation, tactic giving, option, you name it. The Whiz does it.
You bet. We're very happy, very fired up to be part of the T3 Live team. World-class stock traders getting together with world-class options traders. It's just going to add another weapon to your trading arsenal, and let's get airborne, man. I'm fired up.
Yes. Unfortunately, I want to get into the history, the background, this and that, but we can't because I have 15 minutes to do a recap, and he just flew in from Florida, so I want to have him in with me. So, you know, do you see the teleprompter?
No.
There is none. Okay,
No.
so we're just going to fly off the cuff, and he was on a plane, so you probably didn't even really know that much of what the market did.
No, well, I did a live trading session today. Every Wednesday, we do a Top Gun Options accelerated retirement. So it's a model portfolio based on $100,000. It's longer term focused. Right. Long call diagonals, synthetic stock, not trading weekly options. So yeah, I did some live trading today, but obviously didn't see how we did the end of the day. So I'll leave that over to you, man.
I was there. Been there, done. So with that said, you know, a few things I don't think really changed today, but you know, as I scroll through some of the charts, and I know that I've got stopped out of some positions, it feels like the market, you know, lost a little momentum. We had a few engulfing days in certain stocks, and we also had some red dog reversals in some key sectors. So what I do when that happens is I just reduce my risk somewhat. So let's just go right to the chart, and we're both going to look at it for you and try and give you our take. Right here, this is the S&P. You know, we all know that the market has come up very fast. This was when we broke here in 1970. This is when we held trend. You had a quick igniting bar, little digestion, and this was the move that we've had for the past month.
And you know what's crazy, Scott, is that that's actually nowadays called a correction. That little 4% pullback is now, you know, in this type of environment is called a correction, right? But obviously it wasn't.
Well, a lot of people thought it would be 10, 15, 20%.
Correct.
And again, like you said, it wasn't. You know, you go to the chart, this has been the norm. And I guess it's the norm until it's not the norm. You know, here is the overall trend, and it's been very strong. And these, you know, corrective periods have been short, brief, but what you could see here is they've always pretty much held the 21-day. So
Correct.
Until we break and close below the 21-day on the weekly, let's stop trying to call a huge correction in the media or wherever. But you know, for the intermediate active guy like myself, I know I came in with a lot of long exposure today, and today, you know, I'm leaving with some options, and I'm actually a little bit overweighted on my short in the spiders.
In the SPOOs?
Yeah, in the spiders. Yeah. I said, you know, let me take a little bit more just because, you know, we opened up, we had no momentum, and things felt a little wishy-washy.
I got to tell you, I think, well, obviously the news with Ukraine, which, you know, sold, you know, Obama's playing, you know, checkers while Putin's playing chess. A little bit of a market rally on that, but I think the market, at least from a weekly options point of view, is in a holding pattern for the jobs report on Friday. Okay. You know, we get a Mario Draghi talking on Thursday, or an ECB press conference to see if they're going to, you know, bring the more of the punch bowl out. But I like being short here because I still think we're kind of in a bizarro market where good news is good news, bad news is good news, and awful news is great news.
Right.
So I like what you're calling here. This 2,000 level seems just to be a ceiling to me.
Well, you know, we could see what we saw a little bit in here. You know, if you look at this one before we broke down, or we could be in here when everyone thought we were going to break down before we went. But so for right now, it just looks a little wishy-washy. And when you put the Russell on top of it, that had a really nice move from the lows that gave you an engulfing day. Okay, opened up, traded back below the prior high of 117.50 and closed near the lows. Now, this, you know, you put both these dots together with one more dot, technology, which has led the market, that gave you a pretty engulfing day today. Like you look at this bar, I know a lot of it had to do with Apple, which we'll get to, but you know, opened up, couldn't hold the momentum level, and closed below a prior low, something it hasn't done in a while, and closed right on the 8-day. So, you know, looking at this bar, does this tell you take a little bit of caution right here, or load in?
Yeah, I'd be caution at that level, and yeah. Now, you and I talked earlier today about volatility, right, and trading the VIX. When vol's cheap, you buy it. When it's expensive, you sell it. You know, you said I live in South Florida. You don't buy hurricane insurance when the freaking hurricane's coming.
Right.
Then it's a little too pricey. So you're looking at a couple canaries in the coal mine, and we might be running out of airspeed after that climb. So I'd be looking maybe to get long bull at this point.
Okay, well, some other sectors, we'll take a quick look at the XLF. Again, tried to break out, not the end of the world, but broke out, came back below. It's still above the 8-day, so maybe you sold some strength. You look at the size of the move from the lower pivot after breaking out above resistance. And then let's just go to some key stocks, because I know we all trade Apple and we watch it very closely, and we've been talking about Apple all the way back here and trading patterns. This is a nice buyable pattern, a nice buyable pattern, a nice buyable pattern, and then boom. We've been talking about how it's extended and how, I had probably the least amount of Apple equity that I had overnight in a long time because of the move that it had, but I was not expecting something like this. But if you're positioned well and you're prepared, you don't have to be. I know I didn't make any money short, but at least I didn't get caught chasing this move, because I think yesterday every major wirehouse put like a 120 price target, a 123. Yeah. The question is, where were they, 30 points ago when everyone was saying we can get to 100?
That's exactly right. Hindsight is always 20/20. I think this is some profit taking in Apple before the iPhone release. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning.
Right.
I have a couple bullish double verticals on, which is a bull put spread and a bull call spread on.
Right.
One's up 600% and one's up like 1,200%. I'd be using this.
What about after today?
That's where they are today.
Oh, that's where they are today.
Exactly. Okay. So they were actually doing better than that coming into this. I think before a product release, I think this is some profit taking. This is a kind of a sell on the news and the hack attack. Right. But I love Apple here. It's like you and I talked about earlier today. It's broken this mythical $100 level, and I think this is an anomaly.
Okay. Well, I'm going to. I'm not in the stock, and what I did today is, when we were right around here, around 96, we talked about getting, a call strategy. I bought some calls, sold to create a spread here, and then I sold the rest of it to create a spread there. So on this day, I took the calls I sold, so I'm back in the, as far as the spread, so now I'm back in just a straight up call. So I feel like if I get a bounce, I could create that spread again, and tomorrow
Correct.
For a trade, we'll see what happens. Do we get a red dog reversal where it opens lower, comes back up? Does it open down and trade through the low? Right now, all we know is 98.58 was today's low. That's our pivot for tomorrow. And then we also know that the 50-day is here, and last time we hit the 50-day, it held. So if you sold some strength, this little area could be some good opportunity over the next few sessions.
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about it tomorrow morning. Use this opportunity to put on one of those bullish double verticals. As you and I talked about, if you think Apple's going up, you also don't think it's what?
Going down.
Going down. So there's an options tactic
right.
For not going down, and also one for going up. So we'll talk about actually financing that bull call spread and having somebody else pay for it.
There you go. I like when someone pays for my stuff.
You're buying after this, by the way.
Yes, and wife's birthday is later, so I'll be buying a lot if I don't get home soon. So let's run right through it. So let's go to some other key stocks that we watch. So you go back to the chart, and you'll see that was Apple. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Another, little bit of a warning sign in Netflix. Just going to show you how you had a little bit of a topping tail, tried to get through this 485 and failed. Don't say it's a blaring short, but I wouldn't be in such a long position there. Who knows what happens next? We'll see if it can hold above today's low of 476. Amazon, which has been non-compelling, still is not compelling. Google tried to go a little bit today, still hangs in there. I actually sold mine as it came back in just because I reduced risk, but I think it's fine as long as it stays above this 586. Mm-hmm. Then social media. Let's just talk for a second. Before, Whiz and I talked about type of trades, why are you in the trade? Are you in the trade because you're in it for the last year? Are you in it for the last few months? Or were you looking for a momentum trade today? What's your term for that?
We call that commit criteria. So why am I committing capital to this trade? In the F-18, before we ever went into combat, we'd figure out why are we doing this? So,
right.
I call it a cocktail party statement. If in 3 to 5 sentences you can't tell me why you're in a trade, why are you in it?
Right, exactly.
It's common sense there. So we call that commit criteria.
Right, so
and we'll be talking about all that stuff here soon.
So you go right to Facebook and you see that, if you were in from here, and sat tight, you really don't care what happened today.
Sure.
If you were playing for a momentum breakout like I was, okay, you should probably be very light or out. Mm-hmm. I know I got involved here, added yesterday, sold some strength pre-market, and then pretty much got out once it broke back below 76.70 because that was my momentum level.
Nice.
Does it mean the trade's over? No. It's still above the 8-day. It's still above the 21-day. It's still above the recent support. But for me, I was playing it for momentum. I am out. If we open up down tomorrow, maybe I'll look for a negative to positive move. But basically, we'll see what happens here. As far as Twitter also, a call spread, we talked about how if the gap holds, which it did, it could create a trade. That was trade number 1, trade number 2. Then it cleared the earnings per share high. And then today, not saying game over, but it opened above a prior high. You could have sold when it went back below to save yourself some money. If you were trading it for you thought because it can go to 54, that was a resistance, you know what? It turned tail today. It didn't get that high. Anyway, you could have sold there. You could have sold when it broke below the prior low. And if you did so, maybe there's an opportunity for you here at the 8-day because it has been riding the 8-day ever since earnings. And if it doesn't hold the 8-day, then that means the situation changed a little bit, and we'll see if it holds the 21-day. But as of right now, pretty engulfing bar. We haven't seen one like that in a while, so you reduced a little bit into that.
At this point, if I was long Twitter stock and had some profit, nobody's ever gone broke taking a profit. I know of nobody who's taken a profit and gone broke. I'd be looking at taking some of that and maybe buying some puts, buying some downside puts, but having somebody else finance it, like we talked about, with buying a bear put spread. So taking a little bit of, I'd like to have the mantra of I may not make the most money, but I'm going to make money consistently. I want to be able to sleep at night. I don't want to be lying in bed thinking about my Twitter trade. I'm going to take a little off. The worst time to use insurance is when you need it, if you don't have it. So if you were in that and enjoyed that ride, you might be looking at maybe some downside protection.
Yeah, it's just one of those days to take notice. And sometimes they lead to more, sometimes they don't. So reducing a day like that makes sense. So with all that said, a lot's going to be integrated in our site with your product suite.
You bet.
Tomorrow we'll give them a little taste. I'll do the Morning Call Express. We'll do one together just to see where the futures are, see what opportunities there have the normal way. And then Whiz here will do one of his, what do you call it?
Sit reps.
Sit reps.
Situation report. So I do a market sit rep on the Top Gun Options homepage, and we're going to put another video player underneath yours on the T3 Live page so we can look at the daily sit rep. I give kind of my strategic, operational, tactical view of the market, and then sometimes I'll throw out a potential.
Strategic, operation, tactical.
You bet.
Talks like an
SOT, exactly. We'll get you on board, man.
Okay.
We'll get you in a flight suit here soon enough.
Well, I wouldn't look as strapping as you. But anyway, we're very happy to have a whole new suite of products that we're going to be able to offer for our entire community. And I'm happy myself to learn a lot about the situations and the tactics and the strategies we talked about before, because I could definitely use a little bit more knowledge as it comes to options. And you blend every world together, and then you're always in a better situation to try and get ahead, trying to make progress and create just more layers on your overall system.
I've been in the VTF a lot, kind of playing secret shopper, and it seems like it seems like a lot of people are interested in potential options tactics, especially if they don't have the capital to swing around, especially if they want to go short in some of the positions you talked about, like so we'll talk and merging. You got some pretty savvy people in the VTF and at T3 Live, and we have some pretty savvy options traders at TGO. So putting those folks together, like we talked about, we're going to be checking each other's six. Hey, can somebody help me out with an options tactic on here? And you guys are hell of stock pickers, and obviously trading options, you need to be able to pick a good underlying to start with. So this is kind of that Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
There you go. We put it all together, and it works out. So we're gonna, it's gonna take a lot of different forms as we move forward, and I'm looking forward to the entire process of, getting it out to everyone and learning it myself as well.
You bet. That's exactly right. I'm gonna learn from you, and you're gonna learn from me.
There you go. See you in the morning.
All right, brother.
Be well. Okay, I gotta jump.
Yeah.